They're just not seeing the people come through the door. I think something like this is really, really helpful.
For people that doesn't know, who are you?
My name's Steve Sklepic. I am a tattoo artist in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. And I recently started up my own studio here in Edmonton called Esoteric Tattoos. We've been open for a little under a month now.
And what is your story in the tattoo artist industry? When did you start?
I started tattooing in 2007. I got my start under my brother, Tony, who is a tattoo artist as well. Apprenticed at his studio, and then from there just kind of bounced around Edmonton a little bit, a few other cities here and there. At this point in my career, I really enjoy doing new school cartoons, anything kind of pop culture related, comic books, anime, stuff like that. I also really particularly enjoy animal portraits, realism portraits of wildlife, stuff like that. Yeah, that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
Oh, lovely. And so when you found us, how did you find us?
I found you guys online, just through if I remember correctly, it was an Instagram ad, and I reached out to you guys, just kind of wondering what it was all about, and then you guys at the time were hosting a kind of a group Zoom meeting.
Like a webinar?
Yeah, like a webinar. Yeah, you betcha. Yeah, you guys were hosting a webinar. Decided to drop in, give it a listen. I liked what I was hearing, so I signed up with you guys.
Yeah, so when you found us, I guess when you decided to work with us, but like before that, what was a particular problem that you had that you really needed a solution to that actually brought you to us?
I would say the biggest issue I was facing in my career at the time was just lack of people coming through the door. You can be a fantastic artist, but if nobody really knows you exist and you're just not putting yourself out there, it's all for naught, right? So the studio I was working at the time, they didn't really do much by way of advertising or marketing or anything like that. So I was kind of left to fend for myself. Admittedly, that's an aspect of my career that I've always struggled with is, how to properly create content online. I'm one of those sort of old school artists that are a tad resentful towards that kind of aspect of tattooing. I just want a tattoo, you know what I mean? So yeah, that was probably the big thing that I took a lot of interest in when I checked out the webinar, was learning how to do that properly and do that effectively to actually equate to people in the seats, which I just wasn't really getting prior to working with tattoo growth.
And so when you say that, like the whole aspect of showing putting yourself out there and like social media stuff, why do you think that is?
I think a lot of it is kind of having that old school mentality of wanting to sell my work on its own merit of, just the technical skill of the tattoo, or, just the cool factor of the tattoo that I'm, just posting on Instagram. I kind of viewed, social media interactions as almost a bit of too much of a song and dance, having to be a dancing monkey for people to grab attention. And that's just not the way I wanted to function in my career.
Like, would you describe it so, because everyone has like a different, feels different about it, but would you say there's also a bit of like discomfort around it?
Absolutely, yeah. There's a little bit of discomfort in terms of putting yourself out there in new ways, right? I mean, I'm pretty confident that I can take a nice photo of my tattoo, toss that on Instagram. I mean, any self-respecting artist should know how to do that. But in terms of creating quote unquote content, that was completely new territory for me. And to this day, I mean, there's, hum and haw about it a little bit more than I think I should. But having said that, in 200 years, nobody's going to care, right? So you may as well just put it out online, and who knows who's going to enjoy whatever content you create, right?
Right. Yeah, 100%. And so since then, starting working with us, joining the program, what is the results that you could see so far?
The biggest result is just the influx of actual people taking interest in my work, in terms of getting people reaching out to me, looking to book tattoos, looking to book consultations. I mean, I started booking up well enough that I was able to start up my own studio. So yeah, I would say that was probably the biggest change, was just actual people taking notice of my work.
And how long was it? So from starting working with us until now that you've opened your own studio, how long was that period?
That was about a 3.5 month kind of transition. Yeah. Mm-hmm. From when I started working with you guys till starting up my own shop, it took about 3 months. Yeah.
Lovely. And if you were to like sum up your thoughts about tattoo growth.
I'm really enjoying it. I've learned a lot. I think the big piece of advice I would give somebody who's perhaps interested in signing up and taking it on is definitely you have to put in the work, right? You actually have to, watch the modules, apply the knowledge, and be willing to try new things, get out of your bubble a little bit. But no, I've really enjoyed it. I mean, the results speak for themselves, which is great. Definitely just keeping an open mind and being willing to learn, I think has helped me out quite a bit in terms of enjoying this experience, in terms of seeing the results. If
you also look away from the results side of it and look more into like the program, us as a team, or even like the community side of it all, how have you found that?
Oh, I've found it to be great. I mean, you guys are all super helpful. Anytime, on the school app, I send you guys ask a question or send a message. You guys are usually pretty on the ball. Obviously, me being on the other side of the planet from some of you guys, there's a little bit of a wait there in terms of response. Yeah, there's a time delay there, but that's to be expected. The fact that you guys are willing to work with people across an ocean, I think is awesome. Yeah, I mean, definitely connecting with a lot of other artists and seeing how they're approaching not just their tattoos, but also how they're approaching client interactions, social media interactions. Being able to suss out what works and what doesn't has just been invaluable in terms of creating that sense of community. And it seems like everybody there is really there to help lift each other up, which is really cool to see, especially in our industry where for so long, artists, I mean, I remember walking into tattoo shops in the early 2000s and everybody was super secretive and kind of coveted their own knowledge. To see a community like this is really awesome.
I'm so glad to hear. Lovely words. And also, if you were to meet someone who would be in your position, maybe like 6 months ago, say, what would you tell someone that would be in your position before joining the program?
Like I said, I think the big thing I would tell somebody who is interested in joining the program, you do have to actually apply it, right? You do have to do the work. Just kind of sitting through a bunch of videos and then going back to the way you were operating beforehand, that's not going to help you, right? You actually have to apply the knowledge. In terms of being willing to try it, I think is really important. A lot of people, they want I found it particularly in tattooing, everybody kind of chases the magic bean. Everybody wants that tattoo machine that will make them amazing artists, or those particular inks that'll make them amazing artists or whatever. It kind of doesn't exist. You just have to, it's trial and error. It's trying new things. It's, being proactive in monitoring your progress and all that. And like I said, kind of seeing what works, what doesn't. Yeah, it does require a little bit of a shift, I guess you could say, mentally from the creative side to the more analytical side. But once you make that shift and you actually start tracking your progress and all that, you will start to see the results for sure.
Yeah, working with tattoo growth, would it be something that you would recommend to other people that would?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Particularly in my city in Edmonton here, there's a lot of really, really talented tattoo artists. Some, a few of them even more so than myself. And it's kind of heartbreaking to see, a part of it is just the Canadian economy and all that, but it's heartbreaking to see them, constantly posting online. Oh, I have time. I'm not, the time next week, and they're not booked out all that far. So definitely signing up for something like this that can kind of help educate, how to actually advertise properly and how to generate leads, I think is really invaluable, particularly for those artists who should be a lot more booked up than they are. They definitely have the talent, they have the professionalism, the skill set, and they're just not seeing the people come through the door. I think something like this is really, really helpful.
Thank you so much for all your answers. That's all the questions that I will ask you today.
No problem.
Lovely. And yeah, thank you so much for participating. It's really nice to see, especially like yourself, who has a really good experience, and is also like obviously came so far not only because of us, obviously because of you, the work that you put in.